Is technology harming our children's health? Read, listen and practice. Technology is moving at such a breakneck speed that it is enough to make your head spin. It can be difficult to keep up. However, with each new technological marvel come consequences. Much of the research conducted has shown the extent of the damage being done to our health by technology. It is a scary thought, and with teenagers and children being heavy consumers and users of these gadgets, they run the risk of being harmed the most. The digital revolution in music has enabled people to download, store and listen to songs on a tiny, portable device called an MP3 player. The process is quick and afterward, you can have access to a library of thousands of songs that can fit into your palm. But experts say that continuously listening to loud music on these small music players can permanently damage hair cells in the inner ear, resulting in hearing loss. For instance, old-fashioned headphones have been replaced with smaller ones that fit neatly into the ear, instead of over them, which intensifies the sound. In addition to that, digital music does not distort and keeps its crystal clear sound, even in loud settings, which encourages children to crank up the volume. Combine that with the fact that many children will spend hours listening to their iPods, and you have the recipe for hearing loss. Put into further perspective, most MP3 players can reach levels of 120 decibels, which is louder than a chainsaw or lawnmower. When you consider hamsat decibels is the maximum safe decibel level set by hearing experts over the course of a working day, and that children will listen to music at higher decibel levels than that for long periods of time, their hearing will invariably suffer. Apart from hearing damage, there are other serious health risks. We are living in a wireless age. Calls can be made and received on mobiles from anywhere, and the internet can be accessed without the need for cables. The advantages are enormous, bringing ease and convenience to our lives. It is clear that mobiles and wireless technology are here to stay, but are we paying the price for new technology? Studies have shown that the rapid expansion in the use of wireless technology has brought with it a new form of radiation called electropollution. Compared to 2 generations ago, we are exposed to million times more radiation. The human body consists of trillions of cells that use faint electromagnetic signals to communicate with each other so that the necessary biological and physiological changes can happen. It is a delicate, natural balance. But this balance is being upset by the constant exposure to electromagnetic radiation, EMR, that we face in our daily lives, and it is playing havoc with our bodies. EMR can disrupt and alter the way in which our cells communicate, and this can result in abnormal cell behavior. Some studies have shown that exposure to wireless technology can affect our enzyme production, immune systems, nervous system, and even our moods and behavior. The most dangerous part of the phone is around the antenna. This area emits extremely potent radiation which has been shown to cause genetic damage and increase the risk of cancer. Research shows that teenagers and young adults are the largest groups of mobile phone users. According to a recent Eurobarometer survey, 7% of Europeans aged 18 own a mobile phone, and the number of children 5 to 9 years old owning mobiles has greatly increased over the years. Children are especially vulnerable because their brains and nervous systems are not as immune to attack as adults. Sir William Stewart, chairman of the National Radiological Protection Board, says there is mounting evidence to prove the harmful effects of wireless technologies and that families should monitor their children's use of them. Besides the physical and biological damage, technology can also have serious mental implications for children. It can be the cause of severe, addictive behavior. In one case, 2 children had to be admitted to a mental health clinic in northern Spain because of their addiction to mobile phones. An average of 6 hours a day would be spent talking, texting, and playing games on their phones. The children could not be separated from their phones and showed disturbing behavior that was making them fail at school. They regularly deceived family members to obtain money to buy phone cards to fund their destructive habit. There have been other cases of phone addiction like this. Technology may also be changing our brain patterns. Professor Greenfield, a top specialist in brain development, says that thanks to technology, teenage minds are developing differently from those of previous generations. Her main concern is over computer games. She claims that living in a virtual world where actions are rewarded without needing to think about the moral implications makes young people lose awareness of who they are. She claims that technology brings a decline in linguistic creativity. As technology keeps moving at a rapid pace and everyone clamors for the new must-have gadget of the moment, we cannot easily perceive the long-term effects on our health. Unfortunately, it is the most vulnerable members of our society that will be affected. Obesity is a huge problem in many Western countries and one which now attracts considerable medical interest as researchers take up the challenge to find a cure for the common condition of being seriously overweight. However, Rather than take responsibility for their weight, obese people have often sought solace in the excuse that they have a slow metabolism, a genetic hiccup that sentences more than half the Australian population. Thala thought we see tun bil me out of men and sabhat we are bahun bil me out of women to a life of battling with their weight. The argument goes like this: it doesn't matter how little they eat, they gain weight because their bodies break down food and turn it into energy more slowly than those with a so-called normal metabolic rate. This is nonsense, says Dr. Susan Jebb from the Dunn Nutrition Unit at Cambridge in England. Despite the persistence of this metabolism myth, science has known for several years that the exact opposite is in fact true. Fat people have faster metabolisms than thin people. What is very clear, says Dr. Jebb, is that overweight people actually burn off more energy. They have more cells, bigger hearts, bigger lungs, and they all need more energy just to keep going. It took only one night, spent in a sealed room at the Dunn unit, to disabuse one of their patients of the beliefs of a lifetime. Her metabolism was fast, not slow. By sealing the room and measuring the exact amount of oxygen she used, researchers were able to show her that her metabolism was not the culprit. It wasn't the answer she expected and probably not the one she wanted, but she took the news philosophically. Even though the metabolism myth has been completely discredited, science has not discounted the role of our genes in determining what weight we are, fat or thin. One of the world's leading obesity researchers, geneticist Professor Stephen O'Reilly, goes so far as to say we are on the threshold of a complete change in the way we view not only morbid obesity but also everyday overweight. Professor O'Reilly's groundbreaking work in Cambridge has proven that obesity can be caused by our genes. These people are not weak-willed, slothful, or lazy, says Professor O'Reilly. They have a medical condition due to a genetic defect that causes them to be obese. In Australia, the University of Sydney's Professor Ian Caterson says while major genetic defects may be rare, many people probably have minor genetic variations that combine to dictate their weight and are responsible for things such as how much we eat, the amount of exercise we do, and the amount of energy we need. When you add up all these little variations, the result is that some people are genetically predisposed to putting on weight. While the debate about fast and slow metabolism might be settled, he says other subtle changes in the metabolism gene may still be found in obese people. While science may one day be able to cure some forms of obesity, he believes the best way for a vast majority of overweight and obese people to lose weight is to change their diet and exercise more. Despite the $500 million a year Australians spend trying to lose weight and the $830 million it costs the community in healthcare, obesity is at epidemic proportions here, as it is in all Western nations. Until recently, research and treatment for obesity had concentrated on behavior modification, drugs to decrease appetite, and surgery. How the drugs worked was often not understood, and many caused severe side effects and even death in some patients. Surgery for obesity has also claimed many lives. It has long been known that a part of the brain called the hypothalamus is responsible for regulating hunger, among other things. But it wasn't until 1994 that Professor Jeffrey Friedman from Rockefeller University in the U.S. sent science in a new direction by studying an obese mouse. Professor Friedman found that, unlike its thin brothers, the fat mouse did not produce a hitherto unknown hormone called leptin. Manufactured by the fat cells, leptin acts as a messenger, sending signals to the hypothalamus to turn off the appetite. Previously, the fat cells were thought to be responsible simply for storing fat. Professor Friedman gave the fat mouse leptin and it lost 30% of its body weight in 2 weeks. On the other side of the Atlantic, Professor O'Reilly read about this research with great excitement. For many months 2 blood samples had lain in the bottom of his freezer, taken from 2 extremely obese young cousins. He hired a doctor to develop a test for leptin in human blood, which eventually resulted in the discovery that neither of the children's blood contained the hormone. When one cousin was given leptin, she lost a stone in weight and Professor O'Reilly made medical history. Here was the first proof that a genetic defect could cause obesity in humans. But leptin deficiency turned out to be an extremely rare condition, and there is a lot more research to be done before the magic cure for obesity is ever found.
Women who apply for jobs in middle or senior management have a higher success rate than men, according to an employment survey. But of course, far fewer of them apply for these positions. The study, by recruitment consultants NB Selection, shows that while 1 in 6 men who appear on interview shortlists get jobs, the figure rises to 1 in 4 for women. The study concentrated on applications for management positions in the $45,000 to $110,000 salary range and found that women are more successful than men in both the private and public sectors. Dr. Elizabeth Marks from London-based NB Selection described the findings as encouraging for women, in that they send a positive message to them to apply for interesting management positions. But she added, we should not lose sight of the fact that significantly fewer women apply for senior positions in comparison with men. Reasons for higher success rates among women are difficult to isolate. One explanation suggested is that if a woman candidate manages to get on a shortlist, then she has probably already proved herself to be an exceptional candidate. Dr. Marks said that when women apply for positions, they tend to be better qualified than their male counterparts but are more selective and conservative in their job search. Women tend to research thoroughly before applying for positions or attending interviews. Men, on the other hand, seem to rely on their ability to sell themselves and to convince employers that any shortcomings they have will not prevent them from doing a good job.
According to Korn Ferry Carre Orban International's annual survey of boards of directors, women have made significant progress in managerial and executive positions. As compared with last year, the survey shows a doubled number of women serving as non-executive directors. Progress remains painfully slow, however, as only 18 of the 354 non-executive positions surveyed were filled by women. Hilary Sears, a partner with Korn Ferry, said, women have raised the level of grades we are employed in, but we have still not broken through barriers to the top. In Europe, a recent feature of corporate life in the recession has been the delayering of management structures. Sears said that this has halted progress for women in as much as delayering has taken place either where women are working or in layers they aspire to. Sears also noted a positive trend from the recession, which has been the growing number of women who have started up on their own. In business as a whole, there are a number of factors encouraging the prospect of greater equality in the workforce. Demographic trends suggest that the number of women going into employment is steadily increasing. In addition, a far greater number of women are now passing through higher education, making them better qualified to move into management positions. Organizations such as the European Women's Management Development Network provide a range of opportunities for women to enhance their skills and contacts. Through a series of both pan-European and national workshops and conferences, the barriers to women in employment are being broken down. However, Ariane Bertha Antal, director of the International Institute for Organizational Change of Archamps in France, said that there is only anecdotal evidence of changes in recruitment patterns. And she said, it's still so hard for women to even get onto shortlists, there are so many hurdles and barriers. Antal agreed that there have been some positive signs but said, until there is a belief among employers, until they value the difference, nothing will change.